Good evening, y'all. Thank you for joining the talk, the rise, awareness, and impact of HBCU Sports Virtual Roundtable. We appreciate you all spending some of your Saturday evening with us. My name is Terrence Pitt, aka, and I am the co-founder of Push and one of the moderators for this evening's events. I'm excited to get us started on what is the first of many conversations about the current state of HBCU sports and plan. Because we are on a tight schedule and have plenty of engaging conversation packed into this hour, let us get right into it. I am happy to moderate our first segment, the current culture of HBCU sports. And our panelist for this segment is Coach Serena King-Coleman, Fayetteville State University women's basketball coach, and Coach Damon Wilson, Morgan State University men's football coach. We'll have 20-minute discussion. We'll have a 20-minute discussion inclusive of 3 questions. Each panelist will answer and then take some questions live from the audience. Let's get started. Good evening, Coach Serena King-Coleman and Coach Damon Wilson.
Good evening. How you doing?
How you doing?
Awesome. Thank you for joining us. Let's go ahead and get right into it. All right, for tonight's first question, tell us about yourself and what motivated you to want to coach at a historically Black college and university. Coach Serena King-Coleman, and you can go first.
Well, I think my experience started really early. I grew up in a small town called Mount Sterling, Kentucky, which is a very rural town, very predominantly white. I had strong role models in my parents, and that they were athletes. They believed in hard work and discipline. And so for me, growing up in that small town, I just felt like I needed to see more people that looked like me. I didn't grow up with that. But I was fortunate enough to get a D1 scholarship to a PWI, University of North Carolina at Greensboro. But more than anything, I felt really blessed to have that first coaching opportunity, full-time job at a small private HBCU. Where I was the assistant women's basketball coach and the head cross country coach. And there, for me, is where the light bulb came on and really seeing the differences in the experience of the difference in the HBCU and a PWI. And I felt like there was where I can make the most impact as a coach and what I wanted to see growing up that I didn't get the experience of.
Awesome. Coach Moore?
Well, for me, I grew up, my early years was in Washington, D.C., Northeast Washington, D.C. Then we moved to Maryland. And my dad and my uncle were youth league coaches. And I was playing youth league sports. And they gave me an opportunity just to be around those guys. After I practiced, I'll sit in the car or I'll sit in the parking lot and watch them interact with the parents as well as the players. And it was a natural calling. It was a situation where I heard the conversations they were having early on in my life. I was, 7, 8 years old, 13, 14 years old, hearing those same conversations. And it gave me the opportunity to see what type of impact a coach may have on a young man's life. And I think it was a natural calling for me. I went on and went to Siouxland High School and went to Bowie State University. I went to junior college first, Montgomery Community College, and I went to Bowie State University and finished my undergrad degree. And it gave me an opportunity just to find out who I was and find out what type of impact I could have on the community. And I was fortunate enough after my last year of playing college football to be offered a job. I taught in a high school setting for a year. And then after that, I became a full-time college football coach. And it was something that was, like I said, really natural. I really loved the development of young people. And I really saw the impact I could have on young people. And therefore, it was a natural fit for me. And I've been doing this 23 years now. I'm really excited and fortunate to have the opportunity to do that.
That's awesome, man. Both of you have felt the fact you, Coach, you are the 1920 women's CIAA, and Coach Wilson, you are a 3-time CIAA at Bowie. We give you flowers now because we appreciate the awesome guys are doing at the HBCU level and student athletes. It still feels like the HBCUs, or it still feels like, in your own words, can you describe the value and the legacy and current culture of HBCUs? Coach Serena King-Coleman, if you can go first.
This is it's interesting for me because this is the third HBCU that I've been the head coach at. This is the second HBCU conference. I've been at 2 HBCU conferences. So I've had an opportunity to learn a little bit about the legacy at each institution that I've been at. And it's just not talked about enough. The culture of the HBCU is so awesome. The students and the kids still want to be connected to it. I'm actually in a doctoral program here at Fayetteville State, learning the history of the HBCU, the fact that, this was the only opportunity that we had years ago. It's the only opportunity that Black folks could go and be educated, and it's produced so many opportunities, so many leaders in our community, so many leaders at the state level, so many professional athletes. We just got to talk about it more. Culture is it's invaluable, and I think in the wake of Black Lives Matter, COVID-19, all these things that are going on, you still have students that want to be connected to that. And you still have student athletes that still don't really understand the value in it until they actually come and they feel a sense of belonging and they feel a sense of culture and connection to their race, which is what I felt as a new coach coming from a PWI in a small town in Kentucky. So, and now it's just, I'm even more connected because I had the opportunity to coach at the HBCU level for all these years. And also now being a student, having a master's degree from an HBCU in Kentucky State, and now being in the doctoral program at Fayetteville State. It's just so many things, but we got to tell our stories. We got to tell our story.
Yes. Coach,
well, if you look at the history of HBCU or HBCUs in general, man, it's a blessing. It's a blessing to have an opportunity to coach at an HBCU. It's a blessing to have an opportunity to attend the HBCU. And one thing that I'm big on is not separating the type of ball, whether it's basketball or football, that's played. Coach Coleman is a Division II basketball coach. I am a Division I FCS football coach, and I don't like the thought process, like our style of play where our game is different between HBCU and a PWR. However, the experience is different.
Yes.
And as Coach Coleman just mentioned, we didn't have an option to where we was going to college at. So therefore the HBCUs fulfilled that need that we had years ago. And now it's a blessing, once again, just to be a part of an organization that supports, understands, and allows young people to be who they are, and also educate them on their culture. That's the biggest thing that I think that a student athlete would get at an HBCU versus a PWI. The education is the education. The experience is what makes a HBCU and a PWI different. And one thing that we talk about is understand, and I'm at Morgan State University, understand the history of Morgan State University. You get a degree from Morgan State University, I don't care if it's business, engineering, if it's communication, whatever it may be, that degree was going to hold a lot of weight. However, now you're able to understand who you are, why you're here, and you have people around you that support you for being you. And it's not about just being a number on the football team or the basketball team. It's about finding out who you are and what type of impact you can have on today's community.
Well, Coach Serena King-Coleman, you said it best. If we can go back to, you said you went to but you talked about the culture, and you talked about the ability to be in an environment that people that look like you. Can you expound a little bit more with the difference from your experience from University of North Carolina, versus the HBCUs, just the environment, the campus life, the camaraderie that takes place within the HBCU.
I guess I can explain it best when we first played A&T when I was in school, and just seeing the difference in the school spirit. You know, at a PWI, especially for women's basketball, you're probably going to see mostly parents there. When I first coached, my first coaching job was at Johnson C. Smith. The main event is the basketball games.
Right.
Everybody's there to support you. The cheerleading is different. The band is there. It's not a pep band. It's a celebration. It's a celebration of your culture. It's support, community support. It's not just about the parents being there. Seeing people that look like me. That's important. Part of the reason I became a coach is because I didn't have Black coaches. I didn't grow up with Black teachers. And I just kept thinking,
Right.
growing up, there's got to be more to this than what I'm seeing. I wanted to have a positive impact, but the biggest impact you can have is seeing somebody in a position that you want to be in and seeing that it's possible. When you don't see that it's possible, there's a question mark. And there's no question mark at the HBCU, which is why it's important that every student or every Black student at least has the opportunity to see somebody doing something that they want to do. So it's not a pipe dream. It's not like it was 30 years ago. I mean, even in the coaching game, I see the difference from when it used to be one Black person on a PWI staff. Now we got head coaches. You got 6 of them in the SEC on the women's side. So just to see that growth, or it used to be a 1% club in athletic administration for Black females, just seeing that growth over the last 20 plus years, because I also had an opportunity to coach right after I graduated. So just to see the growth of our people, I'm blessed that I can be a witness to that. And see that it is a possibility. And I'm thankful that God put that in my mind, that I wanted to explore and see that there are other opportunities, because really that's all you need is one example to say, hey, I can do that. But I wanted to be that example. And I'm also a mother of 3, so it's even more important to me to be that example for my 3 daughters, so they know there are no limitations.
And to piggyback on what you said, the whole purpose this conversation and many conversations to come is to allow HBCUs to be in choice, to be an option. Children can, they can choose whichever school they want to go to, but why can that HBCUs be on that table of discussion as well? With your Alabamas and your Clemson and your Pitts and your North Carolinas and your Dukes. Why not Bowie? Why not Fayetteville? Why not Morgan? Why not Jackson State? Why not Towson? Why not other? And then allow that kid to choose versus it not being an option at all. And that's what we're striving for, is that, allow HBCUs to be a part of that household conversation when it comes to a child for a child picking whichever university they want to go to. The child can pick, but allow it to be an option, not an afterthought. So with the next question, what do you see as a priority or focus in the near future for HBCU sports?
Is that to me? Priority, I think more than anything, we just got to be more visible. We got to graduate our student athletes so they can see that they're, just like Coach was talking about, our degrees are just as competitive as anyone else's, but they have to be able to know that. So we have to graduate our kids so they can be in those positions, so they know that they went to an HBCU and they're doing great things. We have to support our professors that are teaching our student athletes. We have a lot of great professors that have chosen the HBCU. They have chosen it as a mission and not necessarily because they can't go to a PWI. There are a lot of prominent professors that are at our HBCUs that are choosing to be there because of a mission that they grew up with. So we have to support them. We also have to support our student athletes and making sure that we're checking their mental health, that we're funding scholarships, that we're upgrading facilities, and not just for our revenue sports, but for our non-revenue sports. And then two, I think we have to make it a mission as well to be all-inclusive in athletic administration, even at the NCAA level, that we're including Black females and Black males. And that, again, even with me watching a few shows, even through Black Lives Matter, you can see that coaches still had issues going higher because, again, we're not in those positions. Who understands our story? So that is important. We got to be in that conversation. We got to be in that decision-making room, so we can't stop. But it still starts with our HBCUs. We still have to use those leaders that are striving to be in those positions because we're not there. And we know that story more than anybody because we're getting that history on our campuses. We're feeling that impact on our campuses. So that makes the mission even deeper as far as I'm concerned.
Awesome.
So that's what I would say, that those are the things that I would talk about.
Coach Wilson?
Coach Coleman said it best. I mean, that she said it all, you know. But for us to have an opportunity to educate our student athletes, to show them that we can do X, Y, and Z, whether it's the head coach of football or the football team, or the analytics person that's now in the NFL or the NBA, whatever it may be, we have the opportunity to show and educate our student athletes. If you look at the NBA, you look at the WNBA or the NFL, most of the athletes are African American.
Yes.
Correct. So therefore, if we're good enough to play, we're good enough to have those jobs at the highest level in those particular organizations. And we're preparing our student athletes to obtain those jobs. We just need the opportunity to have them. And that's something that I'm big on. Once again, I don't separate HBCU basketball or HBCU football from PWI. Basketball is a round object. Football is an oval object. And if you can play at Morgan State, you can play with the Washington Commanders. It's the same terminology, the same learning experiences that you may get at a PWI. You'll get those at an HBCU, but you'll also be more comfortable with understanding your culture, and you're able to see it at HBCU. A lot of times you look at the number of African-American FBS head coaches in football. The number is very, very low. And I don't know if it's 5 or 6 guys now that are head coaches in those positions, but the athletes, 75 to 80% of them are African-American. And those guys need to see, or the young ladies, whatever it may be, need to see that, hey, I can do this. And I think at an HBCU, we're doing that now, showing our student athletes that they can be successful or accomplish whatever goal they may have before them.
And, man, representation, everything. We're good enough to play sports, but we're not good enough to be coachable. So representation at the highest level, means everything to be able to have that experience as well. So what is your question from the audience? Quickly, if we can get each of you to answer within 30 seconds. What is your proudest moment as a coach at an HBCU? Coach Serena King-Coleman, you go first.
My proudest moment, I would have to say when I was at that small HBCU that's now closed, St. Paul's College, when I was able to graduate those kids under those tough circumstances. You would think a championship, but I think sometimes in the midst of championships, you can lose the mission of why you're coaching. And that's really to graduate and change young people's lives. So I would have to say graduating those kids.
Coach Wilson?
I could easily second what Coach Coleman just said. However, just been invited to a wedding from one of the players I've coached, being invited to a baby shower. When you watch those guys, for me, graduate and start a family, I've been in this game now 20 years, and graduate a family, being invited to a wedding that one of the guys that I've coached, that means something. Because once those guys leave your program, they don't have to ever talk to you again.
Correct.
But just having the impact that they want you to be a part of something that's special for them is special to me. Awesome.
Well, Coach King-Coleman, I thank you. We thank you for being a part of this episode. For being a part of this means a lot to us. You guys stick around. We're going to transition to segment part 2. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Henry Lane, aka Push, half of Pitts and Push Sports Talk Radio. I would like to take this time to say thank you to all the panelists and the audience for joining. Welcome to the talk. In this segment, I have Coach LaTanya Lamonte, head women's basketball coach at Winston-Salem State University, and Coach Kyle Jackson, from head football coach at Bowie State University. And in this segment, we'll be talking about attracting talent to HBCU athletics. Welcome to the show, y'all.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us. It's a pleasure.
All right, just a quick reminder again, this segment will be 20 minutes with 3 questions. I will allow both the coaches to answer, and we ask that y'all keep y'all answers to about 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, to allow questions from the audience during the back end of the segment, okay? All right, Coach Jackson, if you wouldn't mind going first, could you tell us about yourself and what motivated you to want to coach at a historically Black college or university?
Gotcha. So a little bit about myself. My name is Kyle Jackson. I am a graduate of Bowie State University, where I currently serve as the head football coach. I was an athlete there. I played from 2007 to 2010. And then I had the opportunity to start my coaching career there as well. After that, I spent some time coaching. Well, I did some football operations at Georgia State, then coached defensive line at Emporia State before coming back home to Bowie State University. So I spent my fair time at the HBCU world, but I also have stepped outside of that as well, working at Georgia State and Emporia State. So what kind of, if you ask me, coaching was never really the goal. You know, I had professional dreams, but things happened, so I ended up getting into coaching. That was my way of staying around the game, and it was no better place to do it than at my alma mater, at Bowie State University. So having an opportunity to coach the guys who were going through the same challenges that I experienced as a player, it was one of those things that I just felt right at home. I felt right at home, so understanding where Bowie State University started at when I was a player and before me to where we are now, it's a beautiful thing, man. It's a beautiful thing, and I'm able to relate to the guys and help them understand the change and the challenges that I experienced as a player that they are benefiting from now as players, So it's a beautiful thing. It's like everything's coming back full circle. So that's one of the things that motivates me to be an HBCU college coach.
Nice. Coach Lamont?
Well, just like Coach Jackson, I am actually a graduate of Winston-Salem State as well. And ironically, my career started at Division I PWIs. So once I graduated, I was at Georgia Southern, Western Carolina, NC State, Belmont, and Nashville. And then I was able to make the trek over to North Carolina Central with one of the greatest coaches of all times, Vanessa Taylor. And ironically, I did not want to coach. I literally wanted to go into business or be an athletic director, make a little bit of money. But I was drawn to coaching. And I have to be honest with you, when I started at those PWIs, I wanted to learn as much as possible to bring back to an HBCU about fundraising and ways to make sure we're engaging our community and also engaging a lot of our former athletes to make sure that they give back. So everything that I learned in those areas, I wanted to bring back to Winston. And, so far we're doing the best we can over here.
Nice. All right. So the follow-up question to that would be so what are some of the challenges that y'all face with attracting talent to your university or HBCU schools? Coach Jackson, you could go first.
So from a Division II HBCU standpoint, one of the challenges that we face is resources. Being a smaller university and the HBCU as well, we're limited when it comes to certain things. You talk about scholarship dollars, just certain resources that a lot of PWIs have that we don't have. So understanding we don't have, we make the best of what we do have. So when it comes to recruiting and things like that, I can't sell the glitz and glams because that's not what I have. But I sell our program and the tradition and the culture that we have. Like I said, I've played at Bowie State University, and there's a lot of people who came before me. So understanding the rich tradition that we have, that's one of our selling points when it comes to recruiting. And I always tell guys when I go talk to them, man, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I have this and I have that, but I'm going to tell you what you're going to get out of this opportunity, this experience that you're going to get at a HBCU.
Unprecedented experience. Coach Lamonte?
For me, I wouldn't really say it's, challenges, because you get a lot of kids that are very interested in HBCUs. Our biggest thing is that you have so many that want to go D1. So I'm always fighting with kids about the difference in the levels. And from being on that level, I'm going to be honest, I feel like the CIAA can't compete with like mid-majors. We can. We're just as good when it comes to basketball and football. But just that D1 mentality, that's been our biggest challenge. And scholarships, funding is very different. When you look at being at a Division I school, you have 15 full scholarships for women's basketball. And, at our level, 10 is the max. But, here I am. I've been dealing with having 5 scholarships and trying to make sure that we're competitive and that we're competing with everyone. So, the finances is definitely different. But ways we've been combating is by going in the community, raising money, trying to make sure that we can compete. And then you got coaches that literally they'll try to send you kids. Oh, they're HBCU kid, but we want to win as well. So we need kids that's going to come in, compete, and not just be that HBCU kid. Right.
Exactly. And just from an outsider looking in, I would just have to say, like, just funding and the facilities, that's what the HBCUs would need to increase to like help them get some of these top recruits in there. Just funding, money, basically. Yeah. All right. And I know Coach Lamonte, you spoke on it briefly about how y'all combat the challenges. But what else do you need to succeed in attracting great talent to your university? What do you need at your disposal?
Money. I mean, that's the biggest key. Let me tell you the biggest challenge we have at Winston-Salem State. If you ever come to one of our basketball games, we have double headers. And if you come after the first quarter of the women's game, you will not get in. Our games are sold out. They're packed. It's crazy. It's hot. It's loud. So we need a facility, and that's one thing that we've been trying to work on is how do we get the money to build this facility? What are we going to do in order for it to, come to play? So, that's big for us is that scholarships is also big. Our men's team did a great job, and Cleo Hill, I got to give him so much credit for it. He came in, established a media presence, and he also did a lot with his website. Because of that, he's been getting in, some really good talent that have been D1 transfers on down. With women's basketball now with the new rule where kids can transfer and play right away on that D1 level, we've been getting them on that second or third opportunity after they've been at D1 schools. So just making sure that we have those resources available when it comes to, speaking to someone on campus with the mental aspect, because that's been big now, especially in HBCUs. You have a lot of young people that's going through COVID, their families. At HBCUs, you get first-time college students. I was a first-time college student. And navigating that is tough in itself and trying to be the best you can for your home life and then also trying to be successful. So it's just a lot of different things that we have to endure while we're here.
Absolutely. Coach Jack?
Coach Lamonte kind of hit on everything. I mean, you talk about funding and facilities. In today's world, you talk about the social media world. It's kind of like what do the athletes, the recruits see? They want to see what you have, So I mentioned before the glitz and the glams. Some student athletes love those type of things. They want to see how many jersey combinations you have. They want to see how many, the type of gear that they get and things like that. They want to see what your weight room look like. So understanding the importance of having quality facilities, but also talking about that scholarship money as well. In Division II, especially when it comes to football, 36 full scholarships. Everybody don't have 36 full scholarships to get to their student athletes, so it's about, making the best out of what you got, your dollars. But you talk about if you do have that maximum amount of money, then you're able to recruit, quality athletes, people that may be outside of your region and things like that. So funding facilities is definitely some things that definitely could be better. And then one thing that Coach Lamonte said as well is the mental health aspect. Just understanding the transition that we're going through as just as a nation, as the world, coming out of a pandemic and things like that. Here at Bowie State University, we have lost a few guys, after that COVID year, to some mental health issues and things like that. But we were able to keep a lot of our guys as well, just from the bonds that we've built with those guys and them being comfortable talking to us about that you get at a Division II HBCU school, building their relationships and things like that. As coaches, we understand the importance, but having that support as well for our student athletes, man, that would be tremendous. That'd be tremendous. Like I say, the social media world, you can hide behind a tweet and a Instagram post, but what's really happening behind that, so having our student athletes have that resource.
Right. And some of that, to me, just my opinion, some of that falls back on, some of the alums too. The alums, you got to come back, you got to give some money back to the school if you want to see things improve. Could y'all briefly speak on the importance of alumni coming back and giving back to their HBCUs? Coach Lamont, could you go first, please?
Yeah, I think it's very important. And it's kind of hilarious how me and Coach Jackson are both alums of our schools. And so in a way, we have a bigger impact because we can go to our friends that played and be like, come on, man, we need your help. And so when they see it from us, it's different. So it helps the way we can go into the community, the way we can go into the alumni base and just chit chat with them. Winston has a thing that we do where I'm excited with our alums, with our horns, our donors, they actually give back. But you got to also understand when you have your alums that give back, you got to hear feedback. So being able to be there, be present, be in the moment. And the thing is, you got to listen and you got to hear. And sometimes you got to hear the negativity and the criticisms, but they have to also see where their money is going. I think that's a big thing too, because people give a stigma about Black colleges. Oh, all they doing is, they're wasting money. But the good thing is we show where your money has went. And as long as people see that, then they're willing to donate and give to your organization.
Coach Jackson.
Yep, I agree. The alumni base is very, very, very important. One, because they experience Bowie State, and well, not Bowie State, just their HBCU in different times, So having that connection with your alum and having them coming back and talk to your student athletes or your students, I think it's a great thing. Just because you can build those relationships. You might have an alum who was a business major and now operating some type of organization or company that can mentor one of your student athletes, so being able to bridge that gap between your current student athletes and students with your alum, I think is a beautiful thing, but also the importance of giving back, like I say, everybody have different opinions or tastes of their university and things like that. Maybe good, maybe bad, but just understand the importance of where your dollar is going. I think Coach Lamont said it best. People want to see where their money is going as well. So as a university, being able to show, or even as a program, show and explain where that dollar amount is going. Sometimes you got to give a little to get some. So understanding that as a program and as a university, tapping into your alum is very important.
And if I could piggyback off of that, sometimes it's not even money. Coach said a great thing about having them come back and speak to your players, even having internships, because a lot of our alums, when they graduate, they're actually doing well. If you look at the percentage of your doctors and lawyers, most of them come from HBCUs. And so having them being able to have our kids shadow them or do internships or do practicums, that makes a difference as well, because now we're giving them a great start into being prepared for their careers.
Nice. We pretty much done. We got one question from the audience, and it says, I'm sorry. University. I'm sorry, y'all. It's kind of slow. As alumni, does it help being a coach at your university?
For I guess it looked like it say Winston. I think that was geared towards Coach Lamonte. But so I can speak from being an alum of Bowie State University, and being a coach being promoted to the head coach. I would say it definitely helped. One, like Coach, you had Coach Wilson on here earlier. It's a great mentor to me, but he is also an alum of Bowie State University and filled in as that role as head coach. I think it does a great deal for the communities, for your university's community. It's a familiar face. It's easier for people to come out and support because it's someone that they know, that they might have sat in classes with, they might have sat in the CAF with, so it's easier for them to relate. When I was announced as the head coach, it was a tremendous support backing with it, and I was kind of shocked, but I played ball at Bowie, so I had a good grasp of the Bowie community. It was shocking to me. So I think it's good to have coaches who are alum of the university because it's easy to tie back into the community and the alum.
Yep, and just to piggyback on that, I played. Well, I guess you got to say 3 sports because the basketball team was also the cross country team, and I played softball at Winston. One other thing is I'm actually from Winston-Salem. So as an alumna of the school, and I'm from the city, and I grew up in an area, I like to say housing authority. I don't like to say the projects. I've been able to do more in the community. So being able to go back and, speak to some of my friends' kids and also be able to impact other people who feel like they're living through me because they'll feel like I made it. So coming back to Winston has been great. I do see an impact. Our game attendance has changed. Also the giving has changed for women's basketball. And so it really has. It's been very effective. And I love being back here. I didn't realize how much I miss Winston until I came back.
Nice. Well, I would like Coach Lamonte, Coach Jackson, I would like to thank you guys again for your time. It was a pleasure. And we look forward to future talks about HBCU culture and sports. Thank you again.
Thanks again for having us.
All right.
Yes, thank you. You guys have a good night.
You too.
Happy Saturday evening, everybody. It is my pleasure to be joining you all this evening with probably 2 coaches that need no introduction at all. My name is Candy Waller, also known as Seawall from Seawall Sports and Entertainment and Bowie Television. I am honored to be closing this evening out with you all with Coach Don Thornton, University of Arkansas, Pine Bluff, and Coach Hugh Jackson from Grambling State University. Good evening.
Good evening.
And I think a little birdie told me that you all know each other in real life.
Absolutely, we do.
I'm in the office right now. I'm in Grambling right now.
Look, she's in there making defensive calls right tonight.
Okay, that's my kind of play caller right there. All righty, listen, let's get right into it. The topic for segment 3 is the media exposure in HBCU sports and discussing some of the disparities in media coverage for HBCU sports. Coach Hugh, I see you shaking your head. Was that a nonverbal cue I was supposed to pick up on or not?
Yeah, it is, because if the money was even similar between the HBCUs and the Power Fives, we wouldn't even be having this conversation, right? I mean, we wouldn't be talking about this. And the media would promote and air the games, but it's a cycle, right? I mean, when you look at this, you got to have money, you got to spend money to make money. I think we all get that. But HBCUs do not have that kind of money to spend. And I think we all understand it. So they're not making the same revenues as the Power Fives. The media companies do not want to air HBCU football in their prime spots because they don't generate enough money. It's pretty simple. But the National Bureau of Economics has reported that colleges and universities that compete in the nation's 5 major athletic conferences, the Power Five, collectively receive billions of dollars a year through ticket and merchandise sales, TV contracts, other revenue sources. To keep this in perspective, HBCUs generate less than $15 million per school. Think about that. Just let that sit there. We're talking billions, millions, right? You can't even have this kind of conversation. So the money that the Power Fives are generating through merchandise sales and contracts and all those things is just way above and beyond. So how do we get this thing where it turns? Because I think we get that the majority of student athletes at these Power Five schools are minorities. That's who they are. And I think we all have to understand that. So our kids want to go to where it's shiny and bright and there's nice things and they have the resources and they have the opportunities. But we say we need to go to HBCU. So come on, alumni, come on, donors, let's go. We can change the game, and now is the time to change the game.
Coach Thornton.
The only part that I kind of want to piggyback on is the backside of it is too, when you're talking about engaging your alums and a lot of people, your former student athletes is, I think us as a people sometimes, you want somebody that I hear it all the time. Well, nobody asks me. And then one thing about Power Five schools, once you graduate from there, you've attended a Mississippi State or Ole Miss, it's already in you to give back. And so many times that we're in situations that we're having conversations with alum and they say, well, nobody asked me to give back. And so, that's unfortunate also, because those are doors that our student athletes don't have an opportunity to be able to utilize, because you have to go and literally knock on every single door, turn over every single stone just to ask for them to be able to give back. When on the flip side of the coin, that's not the situation. That's not the case.
Do you think, and this is another question, because both of you have mentioned HBCU alumni and the need to have them want to just desire, and maybe even from an intrinsic perspective, to give back to their universities. Is there something that needs to be done to make it more appealing? Or is this something that it should just be kind of innate? Is this something you do? What are you all's thoughts?
I think it's something that we have to do a better job of educating. Think about it like this. Sometimes when you have students that had issues with housing or financial aid or the dorm wasn't what they thought it would be. And, we will hold on to that grudge for forever and feel like that because of that one experience, because of that professor that flunked you out of your freshman year because you didn't go to class, and you will automatically detach yourself from being able to be a vessel to that institution, to that school. And so, like I said before, I think that we just have to do a better job of just making sure that we can kind of educate and letting our students know, our kids know when they come to our schools, it's our job. It's what we do to give back.
Absolutely. I just think to piggyback on what she's saying as well, the HBCU graduates, they go on and become highly successful. I think we all know that. They are professionals across the spectrum, from science to engineering to technology, medicine, CEOs, major corporations. They have a voice and they also have a platform. I mean, they truly do. They can reinvest in HBCUs. They really can, by not only writing substantial checks, but they can also provide the much needed equipment, supplies, nutritional supplements, and all the needs of these student athletes. They can, but if you run a medical supply equipment company, donate supplies needed for the athletic department. If you own any additional nutritional supplemental companies, donate the supplies. Give us what we need. So like she said, we shouldn't have to go beg and ask. They want see their schools be as successful as the Power 5 alumni does too. The problem is the Power 5s are seen more on the media circuit than we are. You got to go find us on ESPN3, okay, not ESPN. And that's what the difference is. Well, how do you change that? Reinvest. Reinvest back in your school and watch it start to turn. Okay, because I'll say it again, when I talked about billions and millions, just think of this, and this no slight against any coach or anything like that, but we just seen a coach that's going to average almost $12 million a year. I said the budget is $15 million for all sports. Come on now, that just tells you where it is. So if that's what we're dealing with, it takes money to get us to where we want to go. And we have to move and do things differently, and we have to do it together. We have to do it together. One can't do something different than the other, because then all of a sudden it's infighting that way. Let's work together on this thing to make HBCUs legendary like it used to be when it first started. And so I think we can truly do that if we put our heads together.
Let's stay there for a minute, because I hear the passion in both of you all's voices about this topic. And Coach Jackson, you just said something about it used to being legendary. Mm-hmm. So can you just share a bit more about the legendary? Some of our younger watchers may not know. It may need to be education. Coach Don, I love that you made the comment about educating and the need for education on several topics related to this one. So share a little bit about the legend, how it felt to be a part of an HBCU community.
Because most young student athletes won't look through the ledger and see that Grambling State University has had 4 NFL Hall of Famers. They don't understand how the National Football League started, where those players came from in the beginning of the National Football League. And then it all of a sudden turned off when all of a sudden the head coach at Alabama say, "Whoop, I better go get me some of those and put them on our team, because now we got a chance to win more." See, let's go back and dig. And that's not fair to the student athlete today. They're not going to go understand that history. But that's where it all started. So these schools at one time were extremely legendary. They were was the pipeline for putting players in the National Football League. And that has changed now.
And just to touch up on that also, I wrote down over here, because we had something to prove. Because you wouldn't let us in your schools. You wouldn't allow us to play on your teams. So back then in the 60s, 70s, we had something to prove. In the 80s, we had something to prove. We wanted to show you that we deserve to have the same opportunity as any other student athlete. And I think that was something that we were playing with a chip on our shoulder. And I think that's the reason why we have had so much success in the 70s and the 80s and the early 90s and with HBCUs, especially in football.
But the disparity now from the dollar standpoint is so large that all of a sudden it keeps us down. Yeah. And we need to get out of this small thinking. You got to have big vision. It costs you nothing to think big, but you can lose everything if you think small. We think too small. So it's time to start thinking big. Why can't we be like any other Power 5 school if we want to be? Who's stopping us but ourselves? And our funding comes from the states and the alumni and the boosters. Theirs come from TV contracts and all those things. We got to change this game.
I mean, I am just loving the energy on a Saturday night. And for those that are watching online, make sure you are dropping your questions in the chat so we can make sure that Coach Dawn and Coach Hugh have an opportunity to answer as many questions as they can this evening. Now, I want to backtrack because we jumped right in. This is, look, moment of transparency. Sometimes you have a script and sometimes you go off script, depending on how the things are going in the conversation. And we have jumped right in. And given the disparities between HBCUs and Power 5 schools, share a little bit with us about your why you wanted to be an HBCU coach.
Well, I'm a graduate of Jackson State University. I graduated from Jackson State. I played college basketball there. My parents my mom and my dad both graduated from Tennessee State. I'm a country girl from Jackson, Mississippi. And when you live and you're born and raised in Jackson, Mississippi, you know that you support Jackson State University. It hurts me to say that right now, but you have to support Jackson State University, my alma mater with 2 degrees. So I've actually been coaching college basketball for 16 years, but 14 years of my 16, I've been coaching at a HBCU. And I've had an opportunity to coach at Prairie View, Tougaloo College. And my husband has been in this conference also. So this is something that we know, what we love. This is who we are. It's made up of our family. It gave us an opportunity when no one else would have, and I wouldn't have it and change it any other way.
And I think that is awesome. I've had an entirely different experience. I was raised in the Power 5. I've coached in the National Football League. And when I came back and had a chance to do it again, it was at Tennessee State. So I saw firsthand the disparity and said, wait a minute, I need to make a difference, not keep on keeping on. Let's go find a way to create the environment for these young men to have an opportunity to be great, because I found some really good football players and some unbelievable coaches. And I'm saying, wait a minute, but we don't have what they have. So Hugh Jackson's here to make a change. We're going to make a change at Grambling. We're not going to leave it the same. What Coach Robinson did in his time was phenomenal. One of the greatest to ever do it. We're in 2022 now, okay? It's time for Hugh Jackson to grab hold of this thing and go put it back on the map the right way and leave a legacy here that is second to none, because we're going to start building. We want to start moving this thing forward at a higher level and give our student athletes a chance to do something special and experience an unbelievable time in their college lives, because we give them what they really deserve, which is everything everybody else is getting.
Awesome. And so we've kind of been talking about the legend of HBCU sports, and now the current state, if you will. What is the vision that you all have, not just for your individual universities, but for HBCU sports as a whole? Kind of what is the North Star look of HBCU sports? If the world were perfect and everything was flowing in, how do you all see that and envision that?
Coach Jackson, you can take that one first.
Power 6, with us being in that bad boy. Absolutely. So forget Power 5. Let's make it Power 6. Man, we're on the same level playing field as everybody else. That's where I want to get this to, because they deserve it. These student athletes work their tails off and not get the same just due that the Power 5 schools do.
I was just going to say our schools really and truly deserve national recognition. Our conference is a great conference. We've been around for a very, very long time. You've even seen teams to lead a MEAC to come over here in our conference. And so we're special, and we've been great for a very, very long time. And anything that we can do to continue to raise awareness and bring recognition to our schools, to HBCUs, that's something that we're going to have to continue to push and try to shine light on.
That is so awesome. I mean, sometimes I think about what a holiday would be if we were able to see HBCU sports play nationally on Thanksgiving, on Christmas.
The Bayou Classic would be good.
It would.
Mm-hmm.
We would draw just as many ratings. We would draw just as many ratings as anybody would.
Yep.
Absolutely. And I think that Power 6 sounds amazing. There's a comment in the chat about Power 6. That sounds like, and it sounds like it is absolutely doable. I don't know. It could be me just being optimistic, but I think it's not something that's far off. To both of you all's points, I mean, this is what the conferences deserve. This is what the athletes deserve, the staff. That's what is deserved there. It's the same practices.
It goes back to my thought process. Think big. What does it cost us for thinking big? But if you don't, you're going to stay stuck where you are. And we got to get out of this thought process. It's time to move it forward.
Where should we start? And being that I am in sports media, right? And this is part of my give back, right? As an HBCU product And I shared this with Coach Dawn. I said there was no way. I was so appreciative when my brothers with Pits and Push said, hey, do this. Can you do this with us? I said, absolutely. Because as a member of the media, I feel like it is part of my responsibility to be a part of this. So what are your thoughts on just where do we start? How can we continue to spread the word even within sports media? Because I love the energy, and I'm willing to, of course, do my part and hold others accountable as well.
Well, it's 2022, and right now, these recruits that we're recruiting, they want stuff, they want bells, they want whistles, they want everything. They want what they see on social media. They want what the top 5 recruit got. They want those type. They want the NIL deals. They want all of that. And I think that the biggest thing that we have to continue to do is be a voice. Anytime that we get an opportunity to be on a platform such as this. Coach Jackson and the other coaches that's gone before us, they did a phenomenal job as far as bringing awareness and talking about their specific programs and different things that they've dealt with and what they've been through as coaches. And that's what we have to continue to do. Any opportunity that we get to be in front of a microphone to talk about it and be okay and be comfortable with talking about what it looks like. How bad is it? You have to be okay with it. And sometimes you can't sugarcoat everything. And I know for us, Grambling itself, you can walk anywhere in any household in the country and know when the G is on your chest, what that looks like. Same thing with Jackson State. But, you got schools like a Mississippi Valley, like a University of Arkansas, Pine Bluff. And our work, the way we tread the water is a little bit different. And, but I'm okay with sitting at the table with the big dogs to be able to say the things that we need to say in order to make sure that we can continue to be successful.
Well, I can't say it any better than that, because we need you to continue to push that we are playing just as good of football, volleyball, basketball, baseball, whatever all these sports are, just as good as anybody else. The difference is the scholarships, right? And what everybody else have at their disposal, the resources. We need better resources. We got to do the business part of it right. We got to quit taking bad deals just to be a part of something. It's time for us to get that piece of it right. But the media drives it all. At the end of the day, it's those dollars that makes the difference. But we have to be strong enough as a conference. It's not one school. It's all of us to say, hey, looky here. We're now not going to just take the status quo. We want a piece of the pie, because we can sit at the table now and have the right discussions with everybody about how to do this better. And to me, that's what gets me at the end of the day. This is just about doing things better. That's what it is. And we don't have those conversations. We just say, okay, well, this is what it is. No, I think we got to stop that. That's got to stop. And I applaud Coach Sanders for shining a light on all of the above that I just mentioned. It has to get better at every school that we're talking about.
Listen, we are at our time for the evening, but we will be having many more of these discussions, many more of these roundtables. As you all have heard here from Coach Don Thornton and Coach Hugh Jackson, it is time to have the conversation. We are ready to have the conversation. We can be at the table. So let's do our part in making sure that we are at the table. Thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you, Coach Hugh and Coach Dawn. I will be calling both of you soon. But anyway,
Thank you.
You all have a great night. And listen, everybody who joined us online for this live recording, thank you. As I just mentioned, there will be many more of these conversations in the future. So stay tuned for more information from us. Continue to enjoy your Saturday evenings, and we'll be seeing you all again soon.